So I haven't played a player like him ever, to be honest. Roger and Rafa have their own, obviously, strengths and weaknesses, but Carlos is a very complete player, amazing adapting capabilities that I think are a key for longevity and for a successful career on all surfaces.
Novak Djokovic just said something about Carlos Alcaraz that nobody saw coming. The Serbian legend, who rarely hands out compliments, went on record with praise so extreme it sent shockwaves through the tennis world. This wasn't subtle. This wasn't typical respect between competitors. This was Djokovic admitting something he's never said about any player, including Federer and Nadal. The ATP is still processing what just happened. Before we get into what Djokovic actually said, drop a comment. Do you think Alcaraz is already better than Federer and Nadal were at his age? Or is Djokovic just being generous? Let me know your honest take.
I think people have been talking in the past 12 months or so about his game consisting of certain elements from Roger, Rafa and myself. I would agree with that. I think he's got basically best of all three worlds.
Novak Djokovic doesn't do this. He doesn't lavish praise on opponents. He doesn't hand out compliments like participation trophies. Throughout his entire career, Djokovic has been calculated, competitive, and borderline ruthless when discussing other players. Sure, he'll show respect after matches. He'll acknowledge greatness when it's undeniable, but he's never gone out of his way to elevate a competitor to the level he just elevated Carlos Alcaraz. And that's exactly why the tennis world is losing its mind right now.
The only player to beat Djokovic at a major this year.
He's as complete of a player as I have seen in ages.
I'm about to theory off you. It was a disappointing day for you, but in a way, this was energizing that you had this young challenger.
Yes, absolutely it was. You're right, because that pissed me off so much that I needed to win everything on American soil, which I did. It's a great opportunity for me to reinvent myself and really push harder than I ever did.
Here's what Djokovic said, and you need to pay close attention to every word because this is unprecedented. He started by acknowledging what people have been saying for the past year. That Alcaraz's game contains elements from Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic himself. But then he took it further. He said, "I would agree with that. I think he's got basically the best of all three worlds." Let that marinate for a second. Djokovic just admitted that Alcaraz has combined the best attributes of the three greatest players in tennis history. That alone is massive.
So I haven't played a player like him ever, to be honest. Roger and Rafa have their own, obviously, strengths and weaknesses, but Carlos is a very complete player, amazing adapting capabilities that I think are a key for longevity and for a successful career on all surfaces.
But he didn't stop there. Djokovic then dropped the real bombshell. I haven't played a player like him ever, to be honest. Ever. Not in 20 years of professional tennis. Not across hundreds of matches against the greatest generation of players the sport has ever seen. Not Federer at his peak. Not Nadal in his prime. Not Murray during his best years. Nobody. According to Djokovic, Carlos Alcaraz is a unique challenge unlike anything he's faced in his entire Hall of Fame career. Now, for context, this is coming from someone who has played Federer 35 times. Someone who has battled Nadal 60 times. Someone who has faced every elite player of the last 2 decades across every surface imaginable. Djokovic has seen it all, beaten almost everyone, and conquered every possible challenge the sport could throw at him. And he's saying that Alcaraz represents something entirely different. That's not just praise. That's a seismic shift in how we should be evaluating Alcaraz's place in tennis history. Djokovic elaborated by pointing out that while Federer and Nadal obviously have their own strengths and weaknesses, Alcaraz is a very complete player with amazing adapting capabilities that are key for longevity and successful careers across all surfaces. Translation: Alcaraz doesn't have the traditional weaknesses that even the greatest players have. Federer's backhand was vulnerable on clay against heavy topspin. Nadal's serve was sometimes a liability on faster surfaces. Djokovic is basically saying that Alcaraz has figured out how to eliminate those exploitable gaps that every other champion has dealt with.
You know, he's one of the most impressive players that I've ever faced in my life, no doubt. Very complete in every aspect. And also very nice guy, great family, great team. So he's a perfect ambassador for our sport so far. Yeah, he's going to, if he continues like this, he's going to carry the tennis for sure.
Let's break down what Djokovic means when he says Alcaraz has the best of all three worlds. From Federer, Alcaraz has the effortless shot-making ability and the attacking instincts. He approaches the net with confidence. He finishes points with volleys that most baseline-oriented modern players would never attempt. He takes time away from opponents by hitting on the rise and moving forward aggressively. That Federer influence is obvious when you watch Alcaraz play. From Nadal, Alcaraz has the physical intensity and the defensive capabilities. He retrieves balls that should be winners. He grinds through long rallies without losing focus. He plays with relentless energy and refuses to concede points. His forehand has that same heavy topspin that Nadal weaponized for 2 decades. The clay court dominance is clearly inherited from watching and studying Nadal's approach to the surface. And from Djokovic himself, Alcaraz has the mental toughness and the flexibility. He stays calm under pressure. He adapts his game plan mid-match when things aren't working. He returns serve at an elite level. He moves with efficiency and balance that allows him to defend and attack from any position on the court. That Djokovic-like resilience is what makes Alcaraz so dangerous in deciding moments. Combining all three of those elements into one player creates something that tennis has genuinely never seen before. Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic each dominated the sport by maximizing their specific strengths while managing their weaknesses. Alcaraz seems to have taken the blueprint from all three and merged them into a style that has no obvious flaw. That's what Djokovic is recognizing. That's what has him so impressed. The timing of these comments is also significant. Djokovic isn't some retired legend looking back nostalgically. He's still active. He's still competing at the highest level. He's still winning matches and collecting titles. For him to admit that he's never faced anyone like Alcaraz means he's acknowledging that this young player represents a threat unlike any he's dealt with before. That's a huge deal coming from someone who has spent his career refusing to give opponents psychological advantages. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Some people are going to say Djokovic is just being gracious, that he's trying to build up Alcaraz because it makes his own victories against him more impressive, that he's playing mind games or managing his legacy. And sure, elite athletes are always strategic about what they say publicly. But this goes beyond typical gamesmanship. The specificity of his comments, the detailed comparison to Federer and Nadal, the admission that Alcaraz is a unique challenge, that's not hollow praise. That's genuine respect bordering on concern. Think about how rare it is for Djokovic to say he's never faced someone like a particular opponent. He's faced Federer on grass at Wimbledon when Roger was at the peak of his powers. He's faced Nadal on clay at the French Open when Rafa was virtually unbeatable. He's faced Murray in Grand Slam finals when Andy was playing the best tennis of his life. He's faced every surface specialist, every big server, every counterpuncher, every style imaginable. And none of them prompted this level of acknowledgement. The comparison to Federer and Nadal, specifically, is loaded with implications. Those are the two players who defined Djokovic's career. His entire legacy is built on surpassing them in the Grand Slam count and proving himself as the most complete player of his generation. For him to now say that Alcaraz combines their best qualities with his own is essentially saying that this 21-year-old has the potential to be greater than all of them. That's a staggering admission. Let's also talk about what Djokovic said regarding Alcaraz's adapting capabilities. This is key because adaptability has been Djokovic's calling card throughout his career. He's won on every surface. He's adjusted his game as he's aged. He's modified his tactics based on opponents and conditions. For him to highlight Alcaraz's adaptability as special means, he sees that same quality in the young Spaniard, possibly even to a greater degree. Alcaraz has already proven he can win on different surfaces. He won the US Open on hard courts. He won Wimbledon on grass. He's dominated on clay. He's 21 years old and already has major titles on 3 different surfaces. At the same age, neither Federer, Nadal, nor Djokovic had accomplished that. Federer was still figuring out grass. Nadal was a clay court specialist who hadn't yet translated his game to other surfaces. Djokovic hadn't won Wimbledon or the French Open yet. Alcaraz is ahead of the developmental curve that even the big 3 followed. The scary part for everyone else is that Alcaraz is still improving. His serve is getting more consistent. His net game is becoming more refined. His decision-making in pressure moments is maturing. If he's already at a level where Djokovic is saying he's never faced anyone like him, what happens when Alcaraz reaches his actual peak in 3 or 4 years? That's a terrifying thought for the rest of the tour. Djokovic's comments also reveal something about how he views his own career at this stage. He's 37 years old. He's won 24 Grand Slams. He's achieved everything there is to achieve in tennis. And now he's watching a player emerge who might eventually surpass all of it. There's a bittersweet quality to his praise. He's recognizing greatness while also understanding that this might be the player who ultimately dethrones him from the GOAT conversation. That takes humility and perspective that we don't always associate with Djokovic. The tennis community's reaction to these comments has been intense. Analysts are calling it one of the most significant endorsements in sports history. Former players are weighing in, with many agreeing that Alcaraz's game is uniquely complete. Fans are debating whether Djokovic would have said this if he were 10 years younger and still in his prime. The consensus seems to be that these comments are genuine, and that Djokovic is simply acknowledging what's becoming increasingly obvious. Alcaraz is different. Social media exploded with clips of Djokovic's interview. Tennis Twitter was filled with reactions ranging from shock to agreement to skepticism. Some people pointed out that Djokovic might be setting up Alcaraz for added pressure by putting him on this pedestal. Others argued that Djokovic is simply being honest about what he sees on the court. Either way, the conversation has shifted. Alcaraz is no longer just a promising young player. He's now the player that Novak Djokovic says he's never encountered before. It's also worth noting what Djokovic didn't say. He didn't qualify his statements with "for his age" or "potentially" or any of the hedging language that people usually use when discussing young players. He spoke in definitive terms. He's faced Alcaraz, he's studied his game, and he's concluded that this is an entirely new challenge. That directness is rare and significant. The implications for the future of men's tennis are enormous. If Djokovic is right and Alcaraz truly does have the best attributes of Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic combined, then we're potentially entering an era of dominance that could rival or exceed what the big 3 accomplished. Alcaraz already has 2 Grand Slam titles at 21. If he stays healthy and continues developing, he could realistically challenge Djokovic's record of 24 majors. That's no longer a far-fetched prediction. That's a legitimate possibility that the greatest player of this generation is now acknowledging publicly. For Alcaraz, these comments must be incredibly validating but also add immense pressure. Being compared favorably to Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic by Djokovic himself is the ultimate compliment. But it also means expectations will skyrocket. Every loss will be scrutinized more heavily. Every tournament will be viewed as an opportunity he should be capitalizing on. The weight of those comparisons could be crushing if he's not mentally prepared for it. But here's the thing about Alcaraz. He seems built for this moment. His demeanor on court is confident without being arrogant. He plays with joy and passion that's infectious. He embraces big moments rather than shrinking from them. He's already beaten Djokovic in major finals. He's already proven he can handle the pressure of being the next big thing in tennis. So while the expectations will be higher after these comments, there's every reason to believe he'll rise to meet them. Djokovic's praise also raises interesting questions about legacy and how greatness is measured. Is Alcaraz better than Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic because he's combined their strengths? Or is he simply the next evolution of the sport, building on what they established? Are we witnessing the passing of the torch in real time? These are philosophical debates that tennis fans will be having for years. What's undeniable is that we're living through a historic moment. We're watching one of the greatest players ever publicly acknowledge that someone has come along who represents something entirely new. That doesn't happen often. That's the kind of moment that gets remembered and referenced for decades. So there you have it. Novak Djokovic just gave Carlos Alcaraz the ultimate endorsement, admitting he's never faced anyone like him. The tennis world is still reeling from the implications. If you enjoyed this breakdown, smash that like button and subscribe for more tennis content. Do you think Alcaraz will surpass the big three? Drop your prediction in the comments below.